Okay, so open up, well, get your jigs out for your wing. So what we're going to do is we're going to set this up. There are two little marks here. So we'll swept back. So this is the trailing edge, this is the leading edge. These need to be on that side. So you want your left wing longer than your right wing, because these are going to be your marks for where you put your wing posts. Now take out two of your spar strips. So those are the longer and the lighter ones. And you can use masking tape. You want to be real careful using masking tape because it sticks very, very strongly to balsa wood. So we're going to cut these into real thin strips like this. And we're going to break off a couple of these pieces here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a pair of spars to length. And you want to be real careful with how you do this. So one of these is going to be full length and the other is not. So we're going to trim that to exactly the length of this template, like so. Now the other one we're not. The other one we're going to trim to the length between this notch right here and this far notch right over here. Now, you'll want to make sure that when you tape this up here, it's fairly well centered. Good grief, there's so much noise in this house. So you want to carefully center this up, kind of eyeball it, because you want to kind of draw a line through here to make sure that this is roughly lined up. And now you're going to tape this guy on here in the middle and out here on the ends. And then for the one at the back, you're going to do the same type of arrangement. Now this one, you can kind of cheat and you can line it up like so. And then we'll put a piece of tape across here. Hold this guy in place. Break off. For now we'll break off two more. So you can see we have this arrangement now. Now we're going to take this long piece here, and what you'll want to do is kind of touch these two together and then line your razor blade up on the end of this form, and you can cut it off like that. And that gives you an exact length for that part. Now before we attach this, and remember you've cut this to a bevel, so now there's a top and bottom to this. We're going to hit this with a dab of cement. So the cement's kind of holding that in place for us while we glue it, while we tape it down. And there we go. Now come over here to the other side and we'll repeat. So we'll get this guy in here like so. It's not quite touching, and that's the problem here. There we go. Perfect. If you're saying, my goodness, is that ever fiddly? Yeah, well, welcome to Ministicks. Now, at this point, I'm going to glue a piece just out here on the end. If you've done everything right, this will touch just right. In my case, it's not quite doing so. I kind of have a gap back here, so we'll have to kind of fill that in with a little bit of glue. It is very important to use only enough glue to get the job done and nothing more, because we're building to a fairly aggressive minimum weight on these. There we go. And I probably should tape that in place because it's probably going to try to come loose if I don't. And now we'll just repeat the same thing over here on this side. Well, maybe I'll get it to stick. There we go. There's some glue. And those of you wondering how can I be so clumsy and whatnot, I've helped build some Ministicks in recent years, but it has been over 5 years since the last Ministick I built. So there we go. There's your complete outline. Now pop out this section of things again. And pull out your rib sheet. Okay, so we're going to pop out 5 ribs. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm missing one. There we go. Set that aside for a few minutes. And so we're just putting enough glue on this to get the ends good and wet. And we're going to stick one in here. Just like that. And get some fresh glue because the end's drying here. And so, one thing that I have failed to mention is these ribs do have a front and a back to them. So it's very important you note that. So you can see how the front is more curved. Sorry, you can see how the front is more curved than the back. And also we're trying to keep these ribs straight up and down here. And you do want them to be straight up and down like so. Alright, so we'll glue in the remaining ribs here. Now, something I will mention for those of you that are super weight conscious about your builds and you're having trouble getting, let's say you built your first one or two and really have trouble getting them down to weight, these two ribs technically are optional. I have seen many successful Ministicks that just had just the three ribs and then your tips. So there we go, and then we've got one remaining after that. That one's not quite touching, so we'll make it touch. And there you go, there's your complete wing. And we will not set the dihedral on that until after it's covered. Now we're going to move on to the stab. And for the stab, the build out as far as doing the tips and everything, the outline is exactly the same. So I'm going to do that, and then we'll come back and we'll install the ribs. There's just a few short notes on that. Okay, so we have the stabilizer framed out on here, like so. Now what's important, I don't know if this shows up real well, you can see where I have this spar down against this face of the form, so there's a gap up here. So this actually is the top of your stab. The reason we're doing this is so that the ribs will clear this bridge in the middle, because your ribs are only very slightly curved. Now, there isn't really a front and back to the stab ribs, they're pretty much the same. So we're not going to expend a bunch of energy on trying to, align them front and back, but we do need 5 of these ribs out of here. So that's 1, 2, oh, that's 2, 3, 4, 5. And there we go. Well, maybe they aren't wanting to come out. May have to free the ends just a little bit there. There we go. Come out there, you last one. Perfect. Now these are obviously, if you can't tell, these are pretty small. That's the nature of Ministick. So let me try this. I'm going to try to just squirt out some glue on the table here, or not on the table. Yeah, right, on the parchment paper. And so we'll dip each end here. And then we're going to slide this in just like that. Like that. And so you just keep doing this all the way across. Alright, and we've got 2 more ribs. And so all I'm doing is I'm just trying to get a little bit of glue on each end of each rib and drop it in there. Well, kind of press it in there. So I'm actually having to pull the spar back in a few places to just get it to latch in there real nice. And in a few cases you may even have to loosen the tape on this. Is at this size and whatnot, there's some tendencies of the parts to end up with varying tolerancing due to the really small sizes that are involved here. But there we go. There is a complete stab assembled out. And so at that point you'll just go ahead and set that aside. Now we're going to take our little sub-rudder form here, sub-fin, whatever you want to call it. We're going to take another one of our lightweight pieces of wood here. And what we're going to do, I'm actually going to give myself an estimate for how long it needs to be. And so the way I'm going to do that, and actually this one looks like a little bit thicker one. Sometimes we get a few that, no, okay, never mind. It's my eyes playing tricks on me. It's late. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to slide this guy kind of around the frame here. You can just kind of walk it around like this if you're real careful. And the reason we're doing this is just to save wood in case we break something later on. So I'm going to snip it a little bit long like that. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go and we're going to soak this piece of wood. And I'll be right back after I've done that. Okay, so what we're going to do here is I'm going to start on this front face. This will be easier to get things started going around here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this about that much over length. And I'm going to take a piece of my tape. And you want to wrap this, there we go. You want to wrap this tape across here fairly tightly. Not enough that you're completely squishing the wood, but you want it to be on there fairly good. And now here's what we're going to do. We're going to press this wood all the way around. So what I'm doing is I'm actually sliding this over my finger. I've got to go back because I was writing it off the edge. So what I'm doing is I'm actually pressing down fairly strongly. And just like that. Now, once we've got this secure, we need to have a discussion about where you go next. So you can follow the plans. You can glue a little crossbar across here. And so then you'll snip the ends, and everything's good, and you'll cover it as one piece. But there's another way you can do that, and that is that you're going to have a fuselage that comes across here. And so you can cut this to size you can glue it directly to the fuselage, and that saves you a couple of glue joints. Since that's a little bit harder than just assembling this as a separate entity, I'm going to show you how to do it the way where you don't have a crossbar on here and you're using the fuselage. So that'll come later in this build. For now, we're just snipping the ends off flush, and we'll set this aside. At this point, you can go around and you can start very gently, and this is very important, you've got to be gentle on this, peeling this tape off. And if you notice as I'm doing this, as I start to peel it up, I'm grabbing the spar here so that when I do this I don't break the propeller, the stab spar, wing spar, etc. And so then things are able to freely move about. I'll come back when I've got all that. Before you take the wing loose from its frame, it is very important that you mark the wing here and here, because that is where the wing is going to mount to its tubes, because we're offsetting the wing to the left. Alright, so we've pulled our fuselages out here because, like I said, I was going to show you that advanced little trick here. And that advanced little trick involves us going ahead and popping this guy loose. Ordinarily, about the last step in your assembly would be attaching the rudder. Vertical fin, vertical tail, there we go. But we're going to show you the other way. So at this point, what you're going to do before you break anything loose, line this guy up with the back right here, like that. And now take a pin, and we're going to make a mark right here, like that. And now what we're going to do is we're going to pop this guy loose. The reason we've made that mark is this is going to spring loose a little bit. Wet formed parts always do. See how that happened? Now you can use CA or Duco at this point. I'm going to cheat, I'm going to use CA. It does add a little bit of extra weight. And so there we are. And I'm going to glue my rudder to my, or fin to my left side. You could do it to the right. It actually matters not, the hill of beans. And now I'm going to put a tiny dab of glue right there. That was not so tiny of a dab. And there we